Before I do get to that, though, there is one specific thing that I wanted to go into on the topic of Overwatch. I was actually watching a video by one of the top players. His name is Flats. He was going over a community update for the game, something about Season 3 skins that were coming out. And one of the skins that were dropping is actually a collaborative skin with One Punch Man. Yeah, Doomfist has a fucking One Punch Man skin, which is really cool. It's a very small thing, not something I normally would give a lot of attention to, honest to God. But I found it really interesting because it reminded me of a sort of trend that I kind of see going on. Overwatch getting a collaborative skin like this stands out to me for a handful of reasons. For starters, Overwatch specifically as a game made by Blizzard kind of fits their pattern of like wanting to be sort of standalone, doing their own thing, making games that can last a really fucking long time, right? They like to keep their own identity with these kinds of things. And that goes for a lot of gaming companies. That goes for really any gaming entity that wants to separate itself from the rest. They want to protect their IP. Look at Nintendo. They have not really branched outside of their traditions set in place for the characters that they've made. And if they do so, they make it a very big deal and they do it in a very calculated way. So in the case of Overwatch specifically, Overwatch is a hero shooter. It is a game where every character has their unique identity and they have it for a specific reason. A lot of things went into the design of these things. There's a reason why Widowmaker widows and makes. There's a reason why she's the one-shotter. Tracer is the mascot. There's a reason why they select the aesthetics of these characters and their play style and their design and all these kinds of things, and it's really, really dope. So the idea of a collaborative skin kind of goes out of the way because you would think it would pull away from the core character of these characters as individuals, right? And you might think that that's kind of dumb, like that's like, you know, yeah, it does, but it doesn't. But I think that actually is a bit more important than it may come across as at first glance. In particular, it's like, because it goes in the same way where, like, if you have a skin that just doesn't fit a character, like, let's say I put fucking Homer Simpson on Farah, or better yet, Homer Simpson on Honor or some shit. I'd be like, what? It'd be a skin that doesn't make sense. Like how you have that one fucking skeleton of Captain Falcon with a Pikachu skin draped on it in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Some shit like that. You want to make sure that you're not producing some kind of effect that is uncanny. And that's a really big risk in a game with such a loud personality as Overwatch. So the reason why I care about this is because it tells me that a company like Blizzard in a game like Overwatch actually bending the knee to trying to buy into collecting IPs and making sure they have different IPs and to draw more players in or to attract money or whatever the case is, that signals a lot for me. That this adds another piece to the pile of evidence for a trend that I've been noticing that I've not been seeing a lot of people talk about when it comes to the gaming industry, and that is that there's a massive shift in the value, from what it seems like, a massive shift in the value of what games can represent in terms of being a viable place to sow seeds of business, I guess. And it's starting to come up a lot more. I think in the two ways it's starting to come up, in collaborative IP efforts between games. Super Smash Bros. Has been the originator of this kind of thing in getting third-party IPs to come over to Nintendo, to the point where they had the whole invitation motif in Smash 4 as like a part of their marketing. Like, an invite from Smash is major shit. You really, really want that. And following the release of Smash Ultimate, it seemed like there were a lot of games that were trying to mimic its success or just kind of ride that wave, since they know there's probably not going to be another Smash game for a while. You have Nickelodeon All-Stars, you have Multiverses, and they'll pull from their entire pools of IP from the company that owns them. So like Nickelodeon was getting not just exclusive Nickelodeon characters, but they got Garfield the cat, who was not a original Nickelodeon character to my knowledge. Multiverses pulled from Scooby-Doo, Batman, Steven Universe, all these kinds of things that don't mesh together, and did it in a Super Smash Bros. Way, but their whole purpose of it was not meant to be a collaborative thing in an already closed system like Nintendo's Super Smash Bros. Original game was. Their purpose now is, hey, we see that video games are a viable strategy now to get money. What if we took all of these IPs that people recognized and got them in one spot and just kind of used that broad net to bring people in? This has been something I've been noticing for a minute, and it's kind of only getting bigger and with bigger properties. The Mario Brothers movie has been in development for a really long time, a couple years now. I think that was kind of the first sign that, oh wait, a Nintendo like authorized like 3D movie made by an already prominent studio. That's a big deal. The other example of this is recently The fucking Last of Us. That show is really fucking something. It is remarkable so far in terms of its level of quality and all this kind of stuff. And I think that not only are we seeing this focus in bringing video games more to the limelight, like as a valuable source to tap, but we're actually starting to get the respect that the medium deserves. I think this says a lot about where we are in a very broad sense in terms of, I don't know if you want to call it capitalism or the corporate state of the gaming industry, whatever, but there's a lot of things going on right now that are going to change how we play games. I think this issue also feeds into how games are going into streaming focused services. If you look at Xbox, for example, they have the Xbox Game Pass, which gives you unlimited streaming access to over 100 game library, which before was a decent deal by itself. It wasn't bad. You just had to download them individually. But now they have the cloud-based gaming, which lets you access them instantly from almost any device that it's authorized on, which makes it that much more accessible, that much more instant, that much more easy for someone to just kind of pick up and do it, and they're good. With that ease of access combined with a wide variety of IP to enjoy, you're going to get a lot of fucking customers for that, right? At least that's what they're going for. They even made a device now for Xbox where it's just a little USB chip. It's not even a full-size console, but you'll plug that in. It looks almost like an Amazon Fire Stick. You'll plug that in and connect a controller to it, and you're good. You can play basically half the fucking relevant Xbox library right there, drop of a hat, it's done. Just, again, going back in hand with the IP thing, it just seems like there's going to be, if not, we're already seeing the initiation of, but there's going to be a whole wave of just wars back and right of people going, who owns this IP? Who owns that one? Does this one matter? Does this one not? Is this one viable? We're going to see more and more of this. And I think that this is kind of, I don't know if it's a good omen or a bad one. I think we may have some concerns to look at and just kind of think about when it comes to the end game of all this. When I think about this, I think about a kind of the chain, or less an outline of the chain of how broader corporations work, starting from the ground up. So like, let's say you're trying to start a small business. You want to own a donut shop or a restaurant. Let's say one of those two. And you start from the ground up, so you're going to start with one single store. You're going to open one store. You'll run that store for a while. You'll measure your profits, all of that, and then soon enough, you can probably open a second one. You'll buy a second chain, then you'll get another one and another one and another one. After that point, you'll be able to relocate. After that point, you'll be able to just keep on expanding until finally you have enough power and influence of that market to be kind of sort of your own corporate entity in that case. And by the time you reach that, you've gotten to a point where you can now sell not your brand, not your company, but you can sell the idea of owning a store, like a franchise. For anyone that doesn't know, when you go to, say, a Dunkin' Donuts or a 7-Eleven or whatever the case is, and you see that owned, like, that is not just the business, the corporation 7-Eleven planting a store in whatever given location that is and providing you as products from that angle. The whole process is actually somebody going to 7-Eleven Incorporated saying, hey, I want the rights to run a 7-Eleven specifically, because 7-Eleven has a reputation, a brand that will consistently sell these products, and 7-Eleven has a just already existing base of people that will easily be able to just kind of flock to that. But then also 7-Eleven has a set of policies and procedures that goes into making sure that this process goes well in terms of making their money. Someone's going to buy into that franchise, and that franchise is going to be what carries them forward. So how do video games relate to this? When you think about that parallel, you start to see the value of just the franchise, just the idea of a 7-Eleven, just the idea of a Dunkin' Donuts, just the idea of Mario Brothers, just the idea of The Last of Us. We're getting to a point where these businesses, these IPs, these games are getting so big and so well known that just slapping their name on something, we've been to this point already, just slapping your name on something is going to get money, of course, but we're getting to a point where even that part is starting to expand. And if you look at the corporation example, you kind of see a lot of good yet bad things come out of that. You kind of start to get monopolies that way, or you get certain business practices, they might be less inclined to do things that benefit the consumer. But it's going to force the industry to shift in ways that we really haven't seen before. And I would like more people to kind of think about this as they see more and more companies kind of embracing, hey, let's just do a quick crossover here, because that's a transaction. That's saying something. That is something that is being done for a purpose, ultimately somewhat related to getting money. Something's going to happen there. And I just feel like building up this small awareness of that fact, of the fact that there are purposes that go behind any collaboration that we see, at least in this industry, I think can be really useful in just kind of developing a better sense of how these companies are going to interact with us as we continue to be consumers and enjoy these games.